At Team Toyota, they've been selling and servicing new and used Toyotas in your community for over 50 years, and you can reserve your next new Toyota with them today. You'll get a realistic timeline, and even in this crazy market, they won't charge you over MSRP. Or don't wait at all. With over 75 certified Toyotas, including a bunch of RAV4 and Highlanders, you can drive one home today. And you can always trust them to maintain your current vehicle. Their service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and will save you time and money. Team Toyota can help you go anywhere you want, but they'll always be your hometown team. Just visit teamtoyota.net and choose from 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton. This is the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. I'm Corey Seidman, and he's Jim Salisbury. And we're coming off a 4th straight Phillies loss, a 7-1 defeat down in Miami on Friday night that just extended the Phillies' woes against that Marlins team. Jim, the Phillies started 2-0. They're 1-5 since, and they just have not done much hitting, scoring a grand total of 20 runs in the last 7 games. And on Friday, the only offense we saw was an opposite field solo shot from Nick Castellanos late in that game.
Yeah, you're right. And if he doesn't hit that ball over the right field wall, they're shut out for the second time in the last few games. They're shut out in, I think, the second game against the Mets. But if they were shut out, that's 2 shutouts in 8 games. It's something you didn't think you'd see from this lineup. So 8 games, they've scored 1 run twice, and they've been shut out. The offense just hasn't been there, and lose 2 in a row in Miami. You don't hit scoring position, right? They were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position last night. They had chances to do things, but it's a team that, once again is, it's built around slugging the ball, and sometimes you just need a base hit. Sometimes the base hit's good enough, and they're not getting that with runners in scoring position. So. They'll try again on Saturday night against a good pitcher, lefty Trevor Rogers. I woke up this morning, looked at the standings, and the Phillies are in last place in the NL East. Not where we expected them after 8 games, not where they had expected themselves to be after 8 games. But we're only 5% of this into the season, 5% of the way into the season. I certainly. How concerned am I? Barely a ripple as I have my morning coffee.
So it wasn't just the offense on Friday night. Zach Eflin also did not pitch well. He lasted only 4 innings. He gave up 4 runs. And if it felt familiar, it's because the last 3 times that Eflin has faced the Marlins, he's allowed 14 runs in 13 2/3 innings. He's had a couple of rough ones, specifically down there in Miami, where the Phillies just continue not to play well. And one thing about this series between the Phillies and the Marlins is that the Marlins have a lot of confidence against the Phillies. And if you look at since the start of 2020, how the Marlins have performed against the Phillies versus the rest of baseball, they've hit 20 points higher, 21 points higher of batting average against the Phillies, and they've slugged 39 points higher, 409 versus the Phillies over that span compared to 370 against all other teams. So when the Marlins see the Phils on the schedule, guys like Jesus Aguilar and Miguel Rojas and Jazz Chisholm, they feel like they can win those games.
I believe in that, and beyond the numbers. I think when you have success against a certain pitcher or in a certain ballpark or against a certain team, it puts you in a really good frame of mind going into that game or that series. And I do believe sometimes the head leads the body in this game. I do believe that confidence is a huge factor. So all those numbers that you point out support. When the Marlins see Phillies uniform, especially down here, they enter that game thinking, we can take it to this team. And they often do. But the Phillies are complicit in that. They don't hit when they play the Marlins. The Marlins' arms often dominate them. And it could be just the reverse effect that you step on the field and it's like, well, this team has a way of taking it to us. These arms have a way of dominating us. And it becomes almost like, the negative impact on your mind. The Phillies need to get over that. they need to get over that. But I mentioned I think the Phillies are complicit in some of that. It just seems like, and they make a lot of mistakes on the mound over the heart of the plate against this team. And this team is up there. It's a bunch of free swingers, and it's a bunch of guys looking to do damage against the Phillies, and they often do. I mean, case in point, first inning, it was a leadoff double. I think Eflin fell behind 3-1, and the whole ballpark knows he's coming over the plate. The hitter knows he's coming over the plate. They know what he throws. He's a sinker ball guy, and boom, and and it's off to the races. And that's kind of what it was last night. Eflin gives up a pair in the first, gives up a pair in the second. They got a lot of good swings against him. He wasn't sharp early. He did get it together in the next couple innings. But by that time, his pitch count was up, and they're still kind of watching him because of a short spring training, and the offense just never bailed him out. So that was kind of the story of Friday night's game. No bailout, 0 for 9 runners in scoring position. Kyle Schwarber really struggling. I think he's 1 for his last 28. I would expect to see him not be in the starting lineup on Saturday night. Get a day off, just to clear his head, kind of hit the reset button. They're facing a lefty, and Joe has said he wants to get Alec Bowman in the lineup, so perfect spot to get Alec Bowman there, who continues to swing it well. Every night he comes off the bench and gets a hit. So you put him in the lineup. I don't know if he'll be at third base or DH. I suspect DH, but you never know with Joe. That would allow Castellanos to get some time in left field. But 2 games remaining here in Miami, and they need to come out of here with 2 wins. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, anything less than 2 straight wins, and the Phillies are going to have lost this first series in Miami. It's Ranger Suarez and Trevor Rogers on Saturday, a pair of lefties, and then Zach Wheeler and Eliezer Hernandez going on Sunday. A reminder that Saturday's game, which is a 6:10 p.m. first pitch, it's streaming on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com, the My Teams app, and the NBC Sports app. So if you're looking to watch it, that's where you would watch it. You would be streaming it on NBCSportsPhilly.com, the My Teams app, or the NBC Sports app. So, Jim, you mentioned a couple of potential lineup changes you expect Saturday involving Schwarber getting a rest against the lefty Rogers, potentially Alec Bohm getting back in the lineup. Bohm continues to hit. He gets his 1 plate appearance a game, and he does damage. He had a single in the 9th inning on Friday night, and through 11 plate appearances in these first 8 games, Bohm is 5 for 7 with 3 walks and a sac fly. So he's doing his job at the plate. If we don't see him at third base on Saturday, do you think we're going to see him at third base again sometime soon? Because it would sure speak to Joe Girardi just not trusting the guy.
Joe says he's going to play third base again. I don't know when. I don't know if it'll be, tonight, Saturday night. Like I said, I would think DH makes a lot of sense just because he's swinging it so well, just because he has struggled defensively. I don't think you want to come out and say you don't trust him defensively. That would not be good for the young man's psyche, but actions speak louder than words. He has not appeared at third base since his difficult game against the Mets. Was it now 5 nights ago? And to put him back at third base again tonight, I think it's risky because, you need to win games. You need to win every game, but he had that tough night behind Ranger Suarez, who is a lefty. And he likes to throw that slider in on righties, likes to keep the ball on the ground. And that could be a bad mix. It was a bad mix the other night. Bohm saw a lot of action. There were 8 plays down there at third base. So the thinking is, do you throw him back out there and hope he sees a lot of action and makes every play? That would be the ideal, because a night like that, I think, could help his confidence. A lot of action, make every play. But do you risk putting him out there, getting a lot of action, and having his, him having a tough night and his confidence slipping more, and potentially losing another ball game? I think you got to go with him as a DH. Play Camargo over there at third base behind Ranger Suarez. There's another dynamic there, because we don't know if Segura is going to be ready. He hasn't played two games in a row. I don't know if he's going to be ready on Saturday night. If that's the case, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go. You could put Stott back at second. They're facing a lefty. I don't know if Didi's going to play, if Stott goes to shortstop, but I think you need probably Stott at second and Camargo at third. And we'll see what happens. But I'm not sure if Alec Bowman is your third baseman on Saturday night. I think DH, like I said, DH makes a lot of sense. But at some point, they're going to need to get him back out there because he's only playing half the game offense. And at 25 years old, you need to develop him as an everyday guy, whether it's at third base or eventually at first base, because you're just loaded with DHs. The last thing you need is another DH on this team.
Yeah, and I know that Johan Camargo is not a young player or a Phillies homegrown prospect or anything like that, but you got to like what you've seen out of him so far. I mean, he's solid on both ends, offensively and defensively. And as we talked about during the offseason, he's more than just like that typical utility guy you see on benches across baseball. Like Camargo can start for you, as we saw with the Braves a couple of years ago, and as we've seen in the early going here with the Phillies. Jim,
and what you like about him defensively is, the ball is hit to third base, it's an out. There's no adventure. It is an out, and he rockets it over there to first base. It's a horrible feeling for fans, and you can imagine what a horrible feeling it is for manager when you have to hold your breath every time the ball is hit to a guy in the infield, especially when your staff is loaded with sinker ballers. So Camargo, I know we're only 5% of the season into this 5% of the way into the season, but he looks like a nice signing to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it could grow into somewhat of a disconnect, couldn't it? Because Joe Girardi's focused on winning games and putting out the best 9 on a daily basis, but the Phillies also have to be factoring in, as we've said, this importance of getting Alec Bohm the reps. So obviously, if Joe Girardi's trying to win that night's game and he has a ground baller on the mound, he's going to lean toward the guy that he feels he can trust at third base to make those routine plays. Because what have we said? We've said that we expect the Phillies not to be a great defensive team, but that they need to make those routine plays. And so far, Alec Bohm hasn't been able to, do that consistently. One other storyline I wanted to bring up Friday night was JT Realmuto sitting. So Realmuto went 4 for 4 on Thursday with a walk, reaches base all 5 times, and then he sits on Friday for Garrett Stubbs. It was the second time this season that Realmuto has not started. I want to ask you about the Zach Eflin portion of this, because we saw Andrew Knapp not serve as Eflin's like personal catcher, but he caught him a lot over the last 2 seasons. In fact, if you look at Eflin's last 31 starts, Realmuto has only caught 14 of them. In the other 17, it's been the Phillies' backup catcher. So what was Joe Girardi's rationale for sitting Realmuto Friday, and why do you think it seems always to be the Eflin turn of the rotation when Realmuto sits?
Well, that narrative clearly exists that Zach Eflin is more comfortable throwing to someone other than JT. Now, I will tell you, it is widely denied by the manager, by Eflin, by people close to Eflin. Everybody says it's just coincidence, but 2 starts, he's worked with Garrett Stubbs to back up. And oh, by the way, Joe has laid out the schedule plan for JT Realmuto, and the plan is to play him Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday in Denver, and then get him a day off Wednesday in Denver, and Thursday is a scheduled day off. And that Wednesday in Denver, again, is an Eflin start. So, the narrative not only exists, it continues to spiral. But everybody denies it. Look, it had to be, and it was tough to take a hot bat out of the lineup. One of the ideals of the DH is, maybe you can rest JT from the rigors of catching and put him at DH, but, you need Schwarber's bat in the lineup. You didn't sign him for $79 million to sit him, and you need Castellanos in the lineup. You didn't sign him for $100 million to sit him. So there's only 1 DH per night. So, and Joe was trying to balance preserving Realmuto for the long haul, along with keeping his bench sharp, and it lined up that way. He felt like Realmuto had caught 4 nights in a row, and there was no way he was going to sit against the lefty. So if he caught him Friday night, it would be 6 games in a row. and they thought that was pushing it too early. Um, he ended last season, with a messed up shoulder, and that really hurt him. A couple years prior, he had leg issues. They're trying to preserve him for the long haul. They think he's that important, and I know it's a real controversial issue, and people are going to argue it vehemently that he's resting him too much. Um, and I understand it. It's hard to take that bat out of the lineup, but Joe is going to be, um, committed to this thinking because his feeling is, the prize is in October and they need JT Realmuto fresh. And if you're going to go anywhere, you need your bench to be sharp. So there's a lot of thinking into it. And I understand, like, okay, they've only played 8 games. Why does he need to rest this early? Um, they're playing the long game here. And if they had won last night's game, nobody would have said a word about it. They get smoked. They don't hit with runners in scoring position. They don't, get the hit when they need it. And the guy, Realmuto, the night before had 4 hits and clearly missed him in the lineup. So you're going to take a lot of heat for it. But that's the way Joe's going to run it. And they're going to try to maximize Realmuto's impact throughout the season by, watching him early and again, they're gonna rest him. He'll get 2 days off next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday being a day off, and this whole Eflin thing, it ain't going away. He needs to get Realmuto behind the plate with Eflin. Probably Eflin's 4th start, so this thing doesn't mushroom and so it doesn't get in people's heads. So Eflin can build a chemistry with both guys.
So, Jim, you're down there in Miami, and after Friday night's game, you guys talked to Kyle Schwarber. I'm just curious about his mood, during this slump. I'll say that on Thursday, I was at Citizens Bank Park before the Phillies went on their road trip, and just the little kinds of things you notice, like there's the double doors in the Phillies clubhouse that lead back there to like the training area where the guys get food. And when Schwarber was coming back into the clubhouse from that area on Thursday after an 0-for-4 multi-strikeout game, there was someone in his way, and he kind of just like danced around him, very like I don't know, in like a playful way. And it was just a sign that, like, okay, this is a veteran who's over his last whatever, over his last 18 with a bunch of strikeouts. But just in that little like split second, you can tell the guy's not taking himself or the situation too seriously. What did Schwarber have to say after the 0-for-5 night Friday?
Well, I do think these, and him included, I think they take bad games seriously. But you have to, reflect on it quickly, learn from it, and then flush it. So that's a sign that he flushed it. Because if you carry it, it's like when you carry a bad at bat into the field, all of a sudden you make an error because you're not there mentally. Have a bad game, review it, look at the tape, and then flush it because tomorrow's another day and you can't carry it over into the next game so it mushrooms. He's got a very healthy veteran attitude when it comes to that. Sure, he's disappointed that he's not swinging it, but as he said, no panic personally. He's not going to, start smashing things and smashing chairs and having a temper tantrum. He's going to go to work and try to be better the next time he's in the lineup, which he might be off the bench tonight. He might come up off the bench tonight in a big situation, and you need him. So I think that's the perfect attitude. That's the attitude that you need in baseball. You can't stew in disappointment, or disappointment just perpetuates itself. So he was, accountable after Friday night's loss and committed to getting better, both personally and as a team. And I think part of the reason they signed Schwarber was some of those intangibles. I mean, he's been to a lot of postseasons. I think he's been to 5 postseasons, maybe even 6. Won a World Series. I mean, there's winning aptitude there. He knows how to win. He's used to it. I think that can rub off on some guys. And I also think his veteran makeup in putting disappointment and putting a bad game behind you and coming out the next day, keeping it in perspective, it will be valuable in that clubhouse. And it's very valuable in the game of baseball because it is such a long season. If you beat yourself up early, you could take a long time getting on track again.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber has been in the playoffs every year except 2019. So all what is that? 7 out of 8 seasons that he's been in the 6 out of 8 seasons, with this being the eighth that his team has been in the postseason. And I'll remind you that Schwarber last April hit 206 with 2 home runs and 67 plate appearances, and then in May and June he hit 23 home runs. So he can turn it on pretty quickly. That's going to do it for this Phillies Talk podcast. A reminder that the Phillies Marlins game Saturday night at 6:10 is streaming live on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com, the My Teams app, and the NBC Sports app. And then they're back on NBC Sports Philly on Sunday. So thanks a lot for listening. Catch you later.